Hello, everyone. We decided to do our blog post topic on access control for the Pivot Alarms website. My name is Josh, and I am here joined with.
I'm Justin.
Wesley, Wright.
And Charlie Lang.
Okay, so a quick introduction to what access control is. Access control provides security for companies and businesses and allows users to access data and bypass any mandatory security measures using authentication and authorization. Without the authentication and authorization that access control provides, there is no data security. And there are two kinds of access controls. One that is physical and the other one is logical. So the physical access control limits the access to buildings, campuses, rooms, and any physical IT assets, while the logical access control limits the connection and access to computer networks, data, and system files. Some examples that you might recognize in real life could be passwords, PINs, biometric scans, security tokens, and much more.
All right, when it comes to competitive landscape, security falls into two categories. There's technical security and physical security. Facilities require both to operate effectively. Technical security is the access control system itself. There are several firms that offer various types of different access controls. Many companies offer more commercial, more personal, and we're more focusing on the commercial level of this for larger buildings, event centers, things like that nature. And they usually require large numbers of access area, a large system to operate effectively, to be able to access all of the doors, to make sure that the right staff have the right access to different areas. And then the second area would be physical security. Physical security is the actual human security. The individual is required to make sure that the access controls still function. That goes into several people, whether it's just a security guard who stands at a desk, ensuring that the access control is being used properly, or it could be a IT technician who's making sure that no one's trying to break through access control at different areas. Depending on the facility, it could require a lot more or less, depending on how big the facility is. You know, a stadium could have a few hundred security people to make sure that security is taken care of, where a smaller facility, office building, maybe a handful of guards and a tech IT person. Which then leads us into our target demographic. So the people that are looking for commercial grade systems, there's usually three different areas that it really falls into. Office managers, so those who are responsible for overseeing the day-to-day operations of this facility. They usually are their own individual entity that are supposed to manage, control, and hire based on the needs of both access control and physical security. They want to know the pros and cons of their security system, how a security system might be able to be customized to fit their needs. And that's usually kind of is in link with usually an owner or CEO who own and operate the facilities as well. They usually hire other people, but they usually are involved in the purchasing of a security system because it's one of the biggest investments for a lot of these firms. And then the other person that would usually get involved is lead security officers and IT officers, mainly because they want to ensure that the security system meets the security needs for the building or for the event center or venue. And the IT officer needs to make sure that it's not a potentially risky system, something that can get hacked, something that can get overrun by digital people trying to get into the system. It requires all three of these individuals to really make an informed decision on cost of the system and security overall.
Yeah, so then we're going to talk about analytics and search console metrics. So a great tool to utilize when you're using Google Analytics is one ability to compare data from month to month. And you can use a bunch of filters and analyze a bunch of things like new users, search engine use, days of traffic, top landing pages, traffic source, and age, among many more. And we can use this data, and it helps us make informed decisions about different changes we can make to just make the best product possible. And there is some data already collected, but we need more time to ultimately make a conclusion.
So we decided to do our keyword research on access control itself. We used Neil Patel's Ubersuggest website to generate some results, and here's what we found and learned. In terms of volume, access control had a volume of 9,900. For reference, our volume metrics were filtered based off the number of searches for that particular keyword during that month period. Some of the top volume results for competing keywords included access control systems, access control allow origin, access control list, access control installation, and access control role based, ranging from 6,600 down to 2,400 searches. Some of the lower volume results for competing keywords were ones such as access control solutions, what is the access control list, access control gate, access control vestibule, and access control entry example, ranging from 320 to 720 searches. Being able to understand and analyze the value from these volume can give insight on which words might drive more digital traffic and help further strategize which one can generate a higher CPC, which is the average cost per click to pay Google to be seen as an ad. The higher the CPC, the more valuable. Here we have a list of the top 5 CPC results, which you can see that access control systems was at the first in CPC just like the results in volume. This shows that access control systems is likely an area that drives more activity in searches, which shows why it can be seen as a place to strategize placing ads. Here's a quick look at some more results from our keyword research using Ubersuggest. It also gave us metrics such as paid difficulty and SEO difficulty. For both of them, the higher the number, the more competitive they end up being.
For our blog post, we wanted to look more at how access control works in a specific situation rather than as a whole. And for this, we took a look at event venues, specifically stadiums. And the things we looked at were entry into the venue. This is a huge deal for people when going to large events like football games, because you don't want to wait in lines, and you want to make sure that those are moving efficiently. The second is flow of traffic. This is huge for access control, being able to ensure people aren't going into places where they don't belong, as well as making sure that some areas aren't overcrowded by kind of urging traffic to go certain directions. Next, we looked at interior security, which is important because once you're in, you don't want people going in places where they don't belong or out on the field. And so with interior security, it's important being able to monitor and track who's going where, and whether they have the security clearances to go those places. And finally, we looked at ticketing adaptability. And this is potentially one of the most important aspects of access control because ticketing is a large process that a lot of people struggle with, especially when service is really bad because so many people are at the same event as you. And so being able to keep up to date with the best third-party ticketing solutions is important, and access control allows quickly switching between systems. And so learning about what access control is and involves was great as a team. We outlined kind of the areas that we looked into for access control. And with the blog, we also ended with a call to action to lead potential customers to Pivot Alarm for a consultation. But yep, and then we have our external and internal links on our last slide, but that is our presentation. Thank you.